Welcome everyone to June 6, 2024, ThursdAI. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases who basically gets a shout out every week for bringing you the show because that's where I work. And I just want to say hello to my co-hosts here. I see Nistan, I see Wolfram, Raven Wolf, and I want to shout out everybody who keeps coming back from week to week. I see Daniel in the crowd, Safrir, Robert Scoble is here. We have a few more guests that I will announce afterwards. I see Roy as well. I see a bunch of folks who are here week to week to talk to us about AI, learn, and basically, as we've said before, if you're new here, the motto is we stay up to date so you don't have to, which was harder for me this week because I actually went on a little vacation for the first 3 days of this week. But only 2 days because I had to come back and then have the show for you. With that, I want to just say hi to folks here on stage. Wolfram, feel free to say hi to the folks as well. Feel free to unmute.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you all again. Hope you are having a great week.
Wolfram, thank you so much for helping out with a bunch of links. As I said, I was on vacation and I had, of course, I still check Twitter out and listen to other spaces. And speaking of other spaces, me and Nistan had the chance to participate in some of the Intel spaces that our friend Ryan runs, Ryan Carson. So shout out to those. If you want like a quick hour and an easier pace than this, then those are great spaces as well. Welcome, Nistan. How are you? Are you ready to drop your thing or not yet?
No, not yet. But trust me, it's big. It's something nobody expects.
Let's do some foreshadowing, though. It's big. It's something nobody expects, and Nistan just saw it working this week or something, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So some foreshadowing very soon. Here's the TLDR for ThursdAI, June 6, 2024. Our first show in June. We had multiple folks who actually made the breaking news, and I got to use the breaking news button multiple times because a lot of it came out today. The biggest announcement happened on stage of ThursdAI was from Alibaba announcing Qwen2. It's a 5-model suite ranging from everywhere from 500 million parameter Qwen2 all the way up to 72 billion, including an MOE there in the middle. We had a friend of the pod, a co-host, a frequent co-host of ThursdAI, Junyang, Justin Lin, talk to us about the release. The second it dropped, it was very cool.
I'm very happy to announce the release of our Qwen2 models. Its general performance has been upgraded quite a lot, and it's has greatly improved coding and mathematics. So I think people can use it for production or application. And we paid a lot more attention to multilingual learning. So you can use it in a lot of languages.
I think you're bearing the lead here. You guys just released a model that beats Llama-3. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some metrics, man. 72 billion parameter Qwen2 beats Llama-370B on multiple benchmarks. You heard it right. A month and a half after Meta released their flagship 70 billion parameter Llama-3, this Qwen team impressively beats that on MMLU, gets 84% on MMLU. MMLU Pro, which we talked about before, which is the harder version of MMLU, they get 55%. The Human Eval 64, and on the Instruct version, which they released both the base and Instruct versions, they get Human Eval of 86, which is quite impressive. Almost all of the models there are Apache 2 licensed. They support 27 additional languages from around the world. It's really worth listening to the full announcement from Justin as we went deep into the way they did this. Basically, we also had other folks from this week. We had Bo Wang, a friend of the pod, and Han, the CEO of Jina AI, who talked about their new released Jina Clip V1, which is a multimodal embedding, so you can embed images and you can embed text in the same stack. They beat Clip on MTB benchmark, which is the massive embedding benchmark. They are also Apache 2 licensed on the Hugging Face Hub, so you can download these models and run them for yourself. And they're supported via the Jina API as well. And they also, we mentioned, you now can run these embeddings fully in your browser and do classification for images, but also retrieval. The conversation with Bo is always illuminating. It's really fun when Bo joins because he is able to be the guy who actually works on this, but then also to explain this fairly simply.
And so we proposed a new contrastive training loss, which basically combine the clip loss, which is proposed in the OpenAI paper, and we bring the contrastive loss from the Jina embedding into here. So actually now we are basically training with two objectives.
So this week was a big week for multimodal embeddings, and Nomic announced Nomic Embed Vision, which is a version of theirs that's also for multimodal embeddings that now they claim state of the art. So we had Zach from Nomic talk about their also announcements.
One of our big goals for this vision model was to be backwards compatible with our text model. So really what that means is that we had to freeze the text model. Every existing Nomic embedding would become multimodal for free, which I found really cool. But yeah, we were able to release a pretty high performing vision encoder that works well across multimodal, as well as keeping the text encoder high performing.
There's now a new eval thing called Mix Eval. And this one's quite exciting. They released a new benchmark and an evaluation arena as well that they get to LMC's arena style rankings with 2000x less time and 5000x less cost. So within 5 minutes, for the cost of 60 cents, you can get to 96% correlation with the chatbot arena, which is quite incredible. We also had, at the end of the show, a conversation with Abu Bakr from the Gradio team at Hugging Face, where they released new announcements. They released a new Python and JavaScript client and the ability for you to actually take the Gradio demos that you've built as a machine learning engineer, let's say, and actually productize them like significantly on top of the Hugging Face or your own build. This show was like full of friends and announcements. We had a conversation with Batuhan from the team at FAL, where they announced open source grants. If you have an open source project cool enough, they would grant you some GPU compute to actually complete this project. A very welcome initiative. Stable Diffusion 3 is coming on June 12th. Only a very small version, which they call medium. A 2 billion parameter version will be released in weights. We're hoping that the large 4 billion and the extra large 8 billion will also be, but apparently those will be only served via their API. And then we also had breaking news in this category from Jasper AI, from folks at Clip. They now released a fully new thing called Flash Diffusion, which is a way to run Stable Diffusion with a limited amount of steps. So this one supports SDXL and Stable Diffusion 1.4. It's quite impressive that these technologies keep coming up and folks keep finding ways to run diffusion within 1 or 2 or 3 inference steps. It's quite like orders of magnitude faster than the original models. In the voice and audio category, we talked about another thing from Stable Diffusion, which is the team DataBots in Stable Diffusion Audio released Stable Audio Open, and we've played a few examples of this. It's a text-to-audio diffusion transformers model able to generate up to 47 seconds of audio that sounds very clean. It's pre-trained on a bunch of samples from Freesound, and it's good for making samples for music. So unlike the production models like Suno and Udio that you guys know, this one is fully open source. You can download this. I'm actually not sure about the license, but it is an open source. You can download and you can start generating clips and samples for your music. For other voice and audio news, we've talked about Suno launching Upload Your Audio feature to a select few customers of theirs, myself included, where you can upload any type of audio, whether you're playing a piano or you're drumming on your table or you hear the bird singing outside, and you'll be able to now use this and within the Suno's interface to then extend or augment this or remix this with the full might of Suno's audio generation AI. So this is unlocking a completely new use case of AIs for music to me. And then the team at Udio behind the kind of competitor, they pretty much released the same feature within the same week. And yeah, it's pretty cool. In this week's Buzz, which is a category where I talk about weights and biases stuff. So this week, Mistral announced their fine-tuning service where if you don't want to raise environments, etc., you can just reach out via API and start fine-tuning Mistral. And weights and biases is now a first-party support in that fine-tuning. So if you are fine-tuning anything from OpenAI to Mistral, weights and biases is a very easy integration there. We're pretty much everywhere. There is no reason to not use us, including the best fine-tuners around the world are using weights and biases. And I think the last thing we've covered two last things we've covered. One of them is a vision and video category. A company called Qwen from Beijing released an open access, and by open access I mean you can actually use this potentially, although it's just a waitlist for now, of a SOTA competitor video model, so text to video model, and it looks quite incredible. They generate high quality, consistent 120-second videos of just like SOTA quality generative video, and there's a few videos of people just eating noodles, for example. You can see the same noodle doesn't, if you guys remember Will Smith eating noodles, this is not that. This is like way higher quality than this. There's a very impressive consistency between frames, physics understanding, which is way better than what we saw from open competitors to SOTA, and pretty much the same feeling as I felt when SOTA got released. And this one is available via their iOS app, although you need a Chinese phone number to even sign up, so I wasn't able to. But it looks very cool, and it's time for OpenAI to release SOTA. Speaking of OpenAI doing a potential deal with Apple is going to get announced in Apple's WWDC next Monday. So June 10th, we're going to finally see some AI announcements, hopefully big ones from Apple. And obviously we'll cover this next week as well. But we're very excited to see what's going to come from Apple and OpenAI next Monday. There have been speculations before that Apple maybe wanted to go with Google's Gemini and maybe even some Chinese labs. And it looks like they finally landed on OpenAI. It's going to be very interesting to see what actually is going to come from Apple. And now, I think we're moving towards breaking news from our friend Junyang here. Let me just hit the button because you know I love the button. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. Folks, this is the first of the breaking news. I think we have 3 or 4 breaking news. This one by far is the biggest one. I want to introduce my friend Justin Junyang from the Qwen team at Alibaba. Welcome, friend. How you been? We haven't seen you around here for a minute, but it's because you were busy cooking. Feel free to unmute and say hi and reintroduce yourself to folks who never heard about you, and then let's talk about what you just announced.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. Yeah, good to be back to ThursdAI. I haven't been here for some weeks because we are busy working on our new model. I'm very happy to announce the release of our Qwen2 models. This is a new series of our Qwen series model. Its general performance has been upgraded quite a lot, and it's has greatly improved coding and mathematics. So I think people can use it for production or application much better than, because we have a lot of friends here using Qwen 1.5, and they found a lot of problems. We have solved it, and we paid a lot more attention to multilingual learning. So you can use it in a lot of languages, and we are confident that previously we have a code switching problem. It has been greatly alleviated. So yeah, just try to use it. We have a lot of models. We have 5 sizes, and we provide the quantized models, GGUF, and also MLX to all of you. So just choose what you want. Yeah.
I think you're bearing the lead here. You guys just released a model that beats Llama-3. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some metrics, man. So just like shout out to you. Let me just do because people in the audience can do applause. Let me just do applause. Incredible release.
What?
Yep. Let's talk about this.
2 minutes ago.
Yeah, it just literally just dropped right now on Thursday.
Breaking
Folks,
news. Okay.
Thursday. Yeah, please go ahead with the excitement. You want to ask the questions? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I love when you get excited.
You just took me away from the terminal. You just beat Llama-3. Wait, what did you just say?
Yeah.
I'm going to read now. Yeah.
So Qwen2 70. So let's talk about the sizes first, right? Justin, you guys released from a very tiny 500 million parameter, like 0.5 billion, which is like 500 million parameters model.
Yeah.
1.5. 7B. I really want to talk about the 7B one. Did you guys also release an MOE? What is this like 57B thing? You released an MOE as well in the middle size?
Yes, it is an MOE which has total of 57 billion parameters, but it only activates 14 billion. We have thought a lot about the naming because it is hard to name MOE models, and we finally come to 57 for the total, and A14 means that it only activates 14 billion. Yeah, the reason why.
So is that two eight experts, 2 8 billion type experts? Wow.
It is a bit more complex than that, but you can think of it as an equivalent to the previous Mixtral, but we actually have around like 72 small experts, and we have shared experts, around 8 experts, and for the routing experts, we have 8 experts for the routing inside the left 64 experts. Yeah, it is a bit complex, but it is similar to our previous Qwen MOE model, which is a much smaller one, but this time it's much larger and trained with new data. Yeah.
Amazing. And then you have so not only do you have three like small dense models, then you have a like mid-size MOE with like 14 billion active parameters, and you have the flagship 72 billion parameter, and both base and instruct versions. And the instruct version gets a insane 82.3% on MMLU, and we know the MMLU is like not that great, so we saw MMLU Pro. So you guys also benched it on an MMLU Pro, which gets 64.4%. Just to compare this to Llama-3 that came out just a little bit ago, you get almost a 10% lead on MMLU Pro over Llama-3 70B, which is insane. 64.4 MMLU Pro score, and human eval, which we know is not that great because like people are like over-indexing sometimes, but it's still like 86% on human eval. It's quite crazy. Anything else you want to talk about the benchmark specifically? Empty bench is high as well, above 9.12 empty bench. Jesus Christ, this is like one hell of a model. Anything else you want to talk about the benchmarks and the evals here?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there are a lot of benchmarks they are targeting for, I think, for the base models previously, and you can find that our base models perform quite well, which means that it is a good basis, and we try to instruction tune it to make it do not suffer from the capabilities decrease, but also it can align with the human preference. I think we strike a relatively a good balance, but we still have some you see the performance drop in MMLU from 84 to 82, but generally we are satisfied with it, and we find that for the human preference alignment, you can find that for the empty bench. And the new one is mixed eval. If you check,
we wanted to talk about mixed eval today. I actually wanted to talk with the folks. So if you know them, please invite them. But yeah, mixed eval is a new way to get to arena type level benchmarks with significantly less compute and speed as well. So you're getting a very high mix, and they also have their own benchmarks, which are dynamic as well, right?
Yeah, actually, we asked them to test our models for us. We just share the private access to the mix eval guys, and they report the scores to us. And surprisingly, it is quite good. Yeah, I think later we will have the Chapel Arena scores, because previously we have just provided the API to the Chapel Arena. Previously you have used it in Chapel Arena, and then you can see the scores. I think it will generally around a little bit below 2000, 1200. Yeah, it's generally like that. Yeah.
That's quite incredible. I have a bunch of questions, but I also want to run through some of the actual kind of announcement stuff as well. Talk to me about multilinguality of this. You guys introduced a bunch of other languages as well.
Yeah, previously we found that we have a good basis for multilingual, but we did not invest enough efforts into it. So you will find that after our instruction tuning, when you use the model, it will sometimes generate some Chinese characters, which is very unsatisfactory, and a lot of users complain to us. And this time we try to invest more training data into the pre-training phase with some other languages. We pay a lot more attention to 27 additional languages. So this time I think the multilingual performance will be much better than before. Yeah.
Insane.
That's all about it. Yeah.
Where's the data from? Is that something you guys can talk about, or not really?
Not really for the details, but actually you are actually collecting a lot of data from the whole world. What you do is to select it, because in Qwen1 and 1.5 we paid too much attention to Chinese and then English and Chinese, but actually we should pay more attention to other languages. So if you collect from the whole web, you can have a lot of data in many other languages. It is you need more efforts to strike a balance between different languages in different qualities to make you perform well in the benchmarks, but also you can achieve good multilingual capabilities. Yeah.
So now, I think the most important part, at least to me, at least in this area of ThursdAI, where we focus on open source, is the license. This is now released with Apache 2, which is incredible. You want to talk about the licensing? Not everything. I think 72 is still not Apache 2, but let's talk about the licensing because I think you've changed this from before, correct?
Yeah, we have talked a lot internally. We found that there are a lot of friends, especially they are outside China. It is hard for them to use our models for production because you have some strict requirements from the legal department. So this time we tried our best. Although 72B is still using our original license, although I think it is still an open one, but for the others, we all use Apache 2.0. to replace the license. I think it will help a lot of people to use it for their application and commercial usages. They don't need to worry about too many things. Yeah.
That's incredible. I'll let some folks here on stage to react. I'm pretty sure that some other folks want to chime in, but also there's there's still a few more things to talk about. Yam, are you downloading the model already? Like what's going on? Why are you so quiet?
I'm going through everything. There's so much.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we still haven't gotten to. Wolfram, before you chime in here, super quick, I want to talk about the context length. Justin, can you talk to me about kind of the context length and why the 7B model is specifically longer?
Yeah, actually, when we pre-train the models, we can pre-train it with 32,000 tokens. It is actually not that difficult. Actually, internally, we can train a lot more longer, but for this open source, mostly we train it with 32,000 tokens. And then we find that the models can extrapolate to longer contexts like 128,000 tokens, but only for the pre-trained model, not the instruction-tuned models. It can extrapolate well by the PBL evaluation. But when we instruction-tune it, we find that there are a lot of problems because you really need to have some data which is that long for the instruction tuning. It is not that easy. You need to build some synthetic data to make the model to learn from instruction tuning to learn to answer questions for long context. So you need to build longer data. And before the release, we are mostly using the 32K tokens for the instruction tuning. It is not that long enough. And then we find that not all models can extrapolate. For the instruction tune model, not all models can extrapolate to 128,000 tokens. For larger models, I think it is very natural to believe that larger models can have better long context understanding because long context, it is very complex. You need to have larger models to understand it. So 72B, it performs quite well. And for the 7B and the MOE model, actually we have some difficulties in the MOE model. We don't know why it can extrapolate to 64, but after 64, we found that in the needle in the haystack, it does not perform that well. But for 7B model, maybe we have trained it for a little bit longer. We would not report the training tokens because for different sizes, there are a little bit differences. It is hard to explain, but generally there are over 7 trillion tokens. But 7 billion model, which we have trained for longer, for more tokens, we found that it can actually extrapolate to 128,000 tokens. Yeah, that's why the context length is like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you guys also shared needle in the haystack analysis as well. Wolfram, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this because so far I have tested the Chinese models also, but the problem, as you mentioned, is that sometimes some Chinese characters crap in and PL, and that has made them less usable for me. And I've always been looking because here in Europe we need some multiple languages. I was going for Mistral and Cohere's models, and now Qwen is also in that league with all the European languages you have added. Big thanks from here. And that is great. I'm looking forward to test this in depth.
Yeah, thanks for the appreciation. Yeah, we have some code switching evaluation, and we found that it has improved a lot, and we just release it and talk about it because previously it suffers from this problem very severely, but this time it will be much better. I'm not sure it will be better than Cohere or Mistral, but at least for us, compared with 1.5, it will be much better. Yeah.
That's quite incredible. Congrats on the release. You want to shout out some members of the team? Nistan thinks of a question to ask you, and Yam was already downloading. And I also want to ask you about fine tuning and kind of like making this available for folks for that purpose. But yeah, feel free to shout out whoever on the team worked on this. Amazing, and really thank you for open sourcing. We'll love that you are here, but also the fact that you guys are open sourcing this with Apache 2 license means a lot to the community. And I just wanted to like make sure that you get the right recognition. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the appreciation. And when you talk about fine tuning, because it's the same architecture as Qwen 1.5 and just with different weights, so it will be the same for you to fine tune. But I'm not quite sure because when we fine tune and many other people fine tune, there will be many differences. For example, now many people find that it is somehow a bit hard to fine tune Llama-3, but Llama-3 is actually much better than Llama-2. I'm not quite sure about if it is easy to fine tune, so we'll wait and see. Yeah.
Because you did such a good job on the instruct, I will be very interested to see how many people like beat your instruct version with their method, etc. You want to talk about the some of the method? I saw rejection sampling. I saw like a bunch of other stuff. Is there anything that you were willing to share about how you trained or how you like built the data set? Is that like public? I saw some stuff about this. I would love to see, to the extent that you can speak about this, of course.
Yeah, sure. For the instruction tuning part, we also actually talk about SFT and the IHF. For the SFT, you need to collect a lot of data. We try to make the prompts more diverse, but we try to use more synthetic data. So for rejection sampling, it is common in the mathematical data. For the mathematics, you need to sample different paths, and then you choose the most possible one. And this is somehow like rejection sampling. We have a lot of trivial methods, but each one, there will be a lot of details into it to build different kinds of data sets for SFT. But this time, what we have improved a lot is actually the combination of SFT and DPO. For DPO, most people in the community are actually using offline DPO. When we are talking about, which means that the pairwise data are generated before the training, but actually if you make it combination with online learning, it is somehow like PPO. You need a reward model, and you just generate the positive and negative samples when you are training. It will be much better. A great potential to reach a better performance. So we have tried with online DPO training, but we have suffered from things like alignment taxes. We call it alignment taxes, which means that we have some performance drop in some capabilities. For example, agent and RAG. And we actually really don't know why it really happens. Maybe because of the lack of the data, or really because of something we usually call it alignment tax. But very luckily, we find that model merging is very effective. Actually, we find it in Qwen 1.5. We are actually using a model merging. We just merge the SFT model with the DPO model. We can find that it strikes a balance between the capabilities and the human preference alignment. And this time we have some new techniques, and we have a new paper called online merging optimizer. We just merge when we train the DPO process. So which means that for each step, you just move towards the DPO direction, but at the same time, you are merging with the SFT model. So it achieves quite a good performance. Yeah. So we have some new techniques for the post-training. Yeah.
That's so dope. Thank you for sharing all this, and I'm definitely very thankful for you sharing and the community like listening in. Nistan, go ahead.
I'm trying out the 7B right now, and I wanted to ask Junyang, is a ChatML prompt format should be fine, because that's what I set in Llama CVP, and that just worked out of the box, or is there a more particular prompt format for it? By the way, it's really good. I just tried the 7B, asked how to build a city on Mars question. It just did exactly what I asked, and it outputted the code, not too much fluff. I can use this, but yeah, is it ChatML? ChatML is okay.
Yeah. It's still ChatML format. We are always using ChatML. We don't want to make drastic changes because our users will get used to it. So we are using ChatML. I'm not sure the GGUF files can perform the best as the BF16 one. We somehow find that it is a little bit harder to quantize than Qwen 1.5. Maybe somehow it is happening in Llama-3. I'm not pretty sure about that. But for myself, when I quantize it, I find it a little bit difficult than the Qwen 1.5. But it still works quite well. If you want the best, you can try the BF16 one. Yeah.
Is there already
Okay,
fine tunes
that's-
from Dolphin? Sorry, Nistan. I see Cognitive Computations already posted a fine tune. Do you guys work with Eric Hartford for a fine tune or something?
Yeah. I have been talking with Eric and
Oh, wow.
Lucas. We have been playing together. So I just share the model checkpoints to ask them to test the models for us, and they found that the model performance is quite well, and they can even improve the MML score. It is quite amazing. I don't know how they did that. Our teammates don't know how they did that, but it is really amazing when they use the Dolphin dataset to train it. I think the models will be very interesting. Welcome to use the new Dolphin models as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So many announcements at once, but I don't remember having an announcement live on stage here while also having an announcement with a new benchmark that was released like this week as well, Mix Eval, which we're going to talk about next. And also a fine tune that beats does it beat your Instruct version? I'm not quite sure. I just added this, literally just seeing this as I'm looking at. So they performed a little bit better than your Instruct version? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe for some benchmarks they can even perform better because we need to strike a balance between the benchmark scores and our alignment test, because internally we have a lot of our own benchmarks, maybe 100 or over 100, and we need to make it perform all well so that we can be confident that our users may feel the same way as we do. So we don't target for the benchmarks, maybe because we have different targets, but you can try and compare. Yeah, you just choose what you like. Yeah.
That's so incredible. So just to recap, folks, we just had breaking news from Qwen, and Justin here. Junyang is on the Qwen team and long-time friend of the pod. We've talked about Qwen models from before, 1.5. Qwen2 has now just released in open source, and you can download open source and open weights and open source license fully for all the models, 0.5 billion, 1.5 billion, 70B, 7B, and then there's a mixture of experts with 14 billion active parameters and 57 in total. And there's a new flagship Qwen2, which is a 72 billion parameter model. That one is 128K context length and with a specific Alibaba license, I believe. This one beats Llama-3 on multiple benchmarks, which is impressive, and you can download it right now. They also released quantized versions of all these models, and there's already a fine-tune from the folks at Cognitive Computations, aka Dolphin, and Eric Hartford and friends. That's quite impressive. I do believe that one of the biggest announcements we did on ThursdAI. Junyang, thank you. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up and move forward here? But I really appreciate your time here as well.
Yeah, just would like to thank Alex and the friends here to supporting us. Yeah, we'll try to do better stuff for you. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Last comments here from team. Yam, if you want to comment. Wolfram, if you want to comment, feel free. And then we're going to move on and talk with Is Identical or Batuhan.
Yeah, just one question. If you need to point your finger towards the most important thing that provided the biggest jump in performance, like what was the most important thing that you improved?
I think it's coding and mathematics, because this time we have transferred. Previously we have built Qwen. There are a lot of people using Qwen for some plugins and building some coding assistance, but it is still a small models. But through building Qwen, we have accumulated great experience about how to build code specific data. And also at the same time, we have some experience in building math-related data. So we increase the proportions for the pre-training. And then we find that after the instruction tuning, even if you don't change the recipe, you can find that the coding performance and the mathematics performance improved quite a lot. I think it is also related to some reasoning stuff. because the relations are still, for me, it is still unclear, but I think they are quite related. So you will find that if you improve coding and mathematics, you will find the general performance is still increasing as well. But a giant leap for us from Qwen 1.5 in coding and mathematics, relatively a giant leap for us. Yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for coming and announcing on ThursdAI stage. I love it. Breaking news here. You guys got a lot of alpha from the folks who actually worked on this model, and they love the open source community and the fine tuning community, which is great. I'm very, very, very happy that this actually happens here at ThursdAI. Let's do the Jina announcement first. I would love to hear what you guys announced this week. Maybe Han and then Bo.
Yeah, so thanks, Alex, for inviting me. And I'm Han, I'm CEO of Jina.ai. We released this Jina clip last week. So we first submit this paper to archive, and there is also an ICML workshop. So for those who know about Clip and for those who don't know about Clip, so it's a very, let's say, cornerstone model from OpenAI back in the days where OpenAI still opens, right? It actually set up the foundation for a lot of multimodal technology today, right? So people use Clip. So Clip model is the transformer model, but modeling the relationship between text and image. So it provides a foundation to enable a lot of very cool applications. For example, the text to image retrieval, image to text retrieval, but also a lot of people using a Clip model for zero-shot classification. So you can easily, so previously, if you want to train an image classifier, you have to label it, to find some training data, to label it, and then to deploy them. But right now, after OpenAI released this Clip model, so a lot of people just use Clip model to do zero-shot classification. So it's very, very, let's say, convenient, and let's say also a very cute model in the sense that it is not so big. So you can easily run it on, let's say, consumer GPUs and so on. And for a lot of people who don't know, like a Clip model also inspires the diffusion models in some way, right? So back in 2022, so there was, before Stable Diffusion release, there was also a kind of a community diffusion method, which is actually using Clip as a weak supervision to guide the image generation. So this is also like a very interesting application of Clip models. So for Jina.ai, we have been focusing on Clip models for quite a while. We have an open source project called Clip as Service. So now you can still find it on GitHub. It's basically using the gRPC, all this kind of microservice, Kubernetes stuff to make a Clip as a very efficient inference service. But recently we have our own text embedding model which support long context, and as we go deeper and deeper to the embeddings, to the text modality, image modality, and we thought, okay, so a lot of people using Clip models for text to image and image to text, but why there is nobody using a Clip model for text to text as a pure text retriever, right? It's a kind of like a natural question you want to ask, because if you are doing RAG or multimodal RAG, you wonder, okay, so why do I have to host two models in my GPU, right? Clip model, isn't Clip model already captures a text image relationship, and why do I still need like a text embedding in separate, right? So this is a kind of the natural question that we keep asking ourselves. And then Bo basically picked up this idea and did all number crunching stuff. And so I will just hand over to Bo, and so he can speak more about the technical details of this Jina clip. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Han, for the background. Very, very helpful for folks who have no idea about the clip. Bo, please go ahead. Like we've talked about embeddings multiple times before, but multimodality, I think, is everywhere now, and I'm pretty sure people want to build things with like multimodal, like recall and search as well. Tell us about Jina clip.
Yes, if you look at how the original OpenAI clip was trained, it's actually trained on like text and image pairs. So what's using a contrastive loss. So what clip guys doing is they try to do like a representation alignment between the text and images. But if you have been reading the clip paper, like in 2021 or 2020, I forgot, should be 2021. So OpenAI guys basically annotate a lot of text into the images. For example, if there is a cat in the image, they will be annotating this is a cat, something like that. But there will also be some richer captions inside to describe the image. So the nature how clip was trained is because the captions are too short. So the transformer model cannot just capture much, how can I say, richer semantic information. So there is actually a recent research called long clip just mentions that the effective context length for the clip text encoder, they can only capture actually 20 tokens. So the OpenAI clip make a cap that you can only encode 77 tokens, but the effective ones are only like 20 tokens. So our problem is we want to build one model which is able to not only capture the text image relationship, but also make this text tower of the clip model very capable as an embedding model, just like Jina embedding V2 or other like embedding models. And so we proposed a new contrastive training loss, which basically combine the clip loss, which is proposed in the OpenAI paper, and we bring the contrastive loss from the Jina embedding into here. So actually now we are basically training with two objectives. The first objective is to align the text and the image together. The second objective is to align text and the image together. And we also observed that if you just simply do this we can still not solve the problem. Even though if you train on two objectives, the natural difference between the sentence length or the text length still have a huge issue because of the nature of how clip was trained or the caption is trained. So we have actually split our training into 3 stages. The first stage, we train our clip model with 77 tokens as the original clip, but with 2 objectives. First objective is to align the text and image. Another objective to align text and text, but these texts are quite short text. In the second stage, we basically increase the context length of the text embedding to 512 tokens. So with this, we are able to capture much
70
more
you said
richer
before? Sorry to interrupt. You said around 70 before to 512?
Yes, the first stage is 77. The second stage is like 512.
Wow, okay.
512 tokens. So with this, we are able to, after the second stage tuning, we are able to capture much more richer semantic information. And from the clip, from both the text hover and the text image like representation alignment. Then in the third stage, we basically try to feed the text tower a little bit what we call hard negatives. So if you have, because when you are doing the contrastive learning, you have this kind of pairs data. You think these pairs are left and right, question, answer, paper title, paper abstract, this kind of semantic related information. In the third stage, we give this text tower a little bit more guidance to give it also the hard negatives. So hard negative basically describe this has no relationship with the positive pair. So we try to teach this text tower to distinguish what is a good match, what is the bad match. And we are also like training with two objectives together. In the end, we are able to produce a very good clip model. So at least it beats the OpenAI clip, which we are not so proud of it because it's now a weak baseline. But what we bring, the novelty in our research or in our publication is we make the clip text tower a very robust text embedding model and without overfitting the MTB leaderboard. That's basically it.
That's amazing, bro. Thank you so much. And thank you for, as always, breaking down some very complex topics, to me at least, but very simple understanding. And I just wanted to say that I want to talk about the licensing as well. And also, we have our friend Zenova here in the audience. That I saw an example of this running fully in the browser, which I'm very excited about. Could you talk about licensing, Han, and then why you decided to go with Apache 2?
Yeah, so I'm actually now in the car, so probably I will give to Bo to speak more about this. Our licensing right now is, I guess, it's Apache 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is fully open source. and available on Hugging Face. But we also provide API that people can use if they feel, okay, so a little bit lazy nowadays to deploy to as models, all these things. Then we also have an API that is ready to use.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I saw the pricing. The pricing matches the OpenAI's embedding endpoint of the smaller endpoint. Like the larger endpoint of OpenAI is actually more expensive. You guys beat this on benchmarks, which is pretty cool. All right, thank you, Han, and thank you both for the breakdown as well, folks. Definitely worth a shout out to Jina. I just wanted personally to add that there's the reader thing that you guys built that unrelated to today's news. I updated this a couple times. I think the reader thing is super cool. It's a tool from Jina that you can pass any URL or any website, and it gives you a kind of a structured markdown version of what's in this website by reading HTML, etc. It also does, I think, vision as well, Bo, correct? And recently it also does search. And it's just like a super, super cool tool that you guys should definitely give it a try. Shout out for you for giving folks like a free access to Jina Reader. I absolutely love this for retrieval stuff, for different things. Jina Reader is super cool. I want to switch gears and move forward and talk about Nomic as well. In the spirit of friendly competition here on stage, and in the same week, we've had two kind of state-of-the-art pushing multimodal embeddings things, right? And so we have Andre here in the audience, and I see Zach here on stage from Nomic. And Nomic are friends of the pod for a long time. We've talked about Nomic Embed and other areas as well. Zach, welcome to the stage. Feel free to unmute yourself. And first of all, introduce, because this is your first time here, so folks will know how you sound like. And then let's talk about Nomic Embed Vision.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, I was just saying congrats to Jina about the Bo, Han, and the team. There's many different ways to approach this problem, and I think we had different goals, but I think both models have proven to be very, very good vision encoders that are aligned to text encoders. But as far as Nomic Embed Vision, we were really approaching this from the product side of Atlas. So for people that don't know, Atlas is a embedding visualization software tool. So if you have a bunch of unstructured data, whether it's tweets, images, or something like that, you can upload it to Atlas and see all the different topics that might emerge.
One of the coolest demos. Let me interrupt you for just a second. One of the coolest demos that I've saw on NeurIPS was Andre showing me like 5 million, whatever, like insane amount of tweets just embedded. And unfortunately, Twitter then closed their API, so you guys had to cut this off. But just like a tweets embedded through a timeline, and you could see like different topics just pop up in different clusters. It looked super, super cool. Like just like embedding of all these like ideas of like how this information sphere learns and thinks about information. It was just, there's no other way to visually understand what's going on by instead of embedding and just clustering. So it really is, if anybody haven't seen Atlas from Nomic, you definitely should give it a try. And yeah, please mention the next embedding that you did for this vision thing, but please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And adding on to that, the embedding models are the backbone of Atlas, right? So when you have a bunch of text or a bunch of images, when people upload it, we convert those pieces of data into embeddings through our embedding models. One of our big goals for this vision model was to be backwards compatible with our text model. So really what that means is that we had to freeze the text model. Every existing Nomic embedding would become multimodal for free, which I found really cool. It also allows people to add to their existing Atlas maps or existing embeddings that they might store in a vector database like Weaviate or some of the other big players in the space. But yeah, we were able to release a pretty high-performing vision encoder that works well across multimodal, as well as keeping the text encoder high-performing. Like Bo and Han mentioned, just comparing to OpenAI is somewhat of a weak baseline at this point. There are many other high-performing clip-style models that are out there that perform a lot better than the original clip now. But yeah, I think with Jina Clip and Nomic Embed Vision, these are the steps in the right directions to have good clip models that also perform well on text embeddings. Yeah, we also open-sourced the training code. We used the Datacomp data sets. So if people wanted to reproduce this, they have all the means to do, obviously given the compute. But
just
yeah, those are missing.
Just compute. Yeah. Tell us please, because I know that this is part of the platform now, and then folks who used Nomic Embed before now can use this. But you also released the model itself in non-commercial license, so people can play around with this. Can you talk about a little bit about like the idea of releasing it under this license, and how does this help you guys understand how your models are used as well?
Yeah, so I think that we saw a lot of usage of our text models, but which was really awesome to see. But one of the downsides of releasing it under Apache 2 was that a lot of inference providers or hyperscalers saw basically were able to capture a lot of the value while we weren't able to capture some of that. So the license really allows people to use the model for research and play around with it. But if people wanted to use this in production use cases, we provide APIs. We have a SageMaker integration that allows people to use this for commercial access and allows us to continue to build cool models and continue to build the Nomic embed ecosystem. And it is a similar license to like the Cohere, or the Command R models from Cohere and many of the other open weights models. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely you guys gain from this. Hopefully the community also gains from this, from learning, especially for training code as well. Anything else I'm missing, folks? I think on both of you, I saw at least a quote for Nomic, but definitely, Bo, I would love to hear from you about the transformers, yes, because these models are like fairly small as well. And so it's now possible to run them fully in the browser. I would like to hear about this because we have the author of Transformers, yes, Zenova here. He's like stage shy for some reason, doesn't want to come up. But I definitely find it very, very exciting that it's like possible to run, because these models look fairly small, possible to run this fully in the browser. I wanted to hear from you what's the importance of keep making these models small, because we previously talked about, I think last week we talked about NVIDIA releasing NV Embed, and that's backbone of Mistral. And Bo, you told me before, and I kind of trust your judgment, that is not production ready. Nobody uses Mistral-backed embedding models, even though they beat MTV or something. So let's talk about the importance of small models, and then we have some breaking news.
Oh, okay. So actually, we didn't intend to make this model small. If you look at the research, there are some very large clip models from BAAI as well, called the EVA clip or something like that. This scale clip, I remember to 1.8 billion. I forgot, but they have a plenty large models. But what we want to do is we have this Jina bird, which is the backbone of the Jina embedding V2. And we want to find a vision encoder which has roughly the same size as the Jina bird, so that this text tower and image tower are symmetric in terms of number of parameters, so they can learn better. This is basically our intuition. We hope this will improve, but the byproduct is the model is not so big that you can actually run browsers. And for Hugging Face guys, they made this model available from transformer.js, even though it is for classification task. But I have to say, due to our training recipe, we sacrificed the classification performance a little bit to make sure the retrieval performance is nice.
Amazing. And maybe last thing, and maybe Zach go first, and then Bo, could you talk about just resolution for images of what it supports? Let's talk about first Jina, and then maybe the Nomic. What resolution do we support? Do you guys expect to be supporting there as developers build multimodal retrieval capabilities?
Oh, you mean the resolution of the images?
Yeah. I just want to dimension resolutions. Like, what's the support? What people should, like, developers who want to now do multimodal like retrieval and classification, what should they expect in terms of limitations of your model for Jina?
I guess we are basically using a very standard something called the image processor, which is built in transformers from Hugging Face. It will basically by default transform your image into 224 by 224, and a little bit kind of argumentation, then it will be sent to the model. Okay. So you actually don't have to care about the image size or whatever, as long as
it downscales it or it tiles it and creates tiles.
Oh, depends on your original image size, right? If your original image size is really big, then it will be downscaled. If your original image size is tiny small, then it will be upscaled. I see. But it will be transformed into 224 by 224, at least for our model.
All right. Is it fairly standard, Zach, or am I missing something because I haven't played around with multimodal embeddings?
Yeah, we do something very similar. I think there's also been some interesting research. I think actually in one of the original VIT few papers where they fine-tuned on a little bit bigger image sizes. That tends to lead to better performance, but it takes a little bit more compute to do. But yeah, we also stuck with a crop size of 224.
Strangely enough, yeah, when Microsoft did some research with the Met clip, and they trained it with the usual clip, the 336 by 336 size, and they found out that for X-rays, also downscaling worked better, which was pretty strange because it's not intuitive to have just 224 pixels. But I guess it works better. It digests the info better.
All right, folks. Thank you, Bo and Hans Renning from Jina, and then Zach from, and I see Andre as well from Nomic. Thank you guys. Congrats on the releases this week. I honestly would like to see you guys keep pushing the SOTA against each other. It really also warms my heart that both of you joined on stage and talked about the state of the art in this area. And you may not know this, but Junyang, besides being working on Qwen, he's also a co-host of ThursdAI from sometimes and does commentary. So Junyang, obviously it's an announcement day for you guys. If you're busy, feel free to fall off. But if you want to chime in on the mix eval, that's actually the next thing we wanted to talk about. If you guys remember, we talked about LM6 Arena multiple times and the problems with LM6 Arena multiple times, and we then talked about different evaluation techniques and metrics, and we talked about MMLU Pro, which is a version of MMLU that's harder to achieve as well. And last week, I think we mentioned the Scale's new leaderboard called Seal, and that is a proprietary leaderboard that they're not sharing with the companies, and they do like proprietary evaluations and they get different numbers. And we got another one this week, and this week we got a very exciting development in this area called Mix Eval. And the most exciting thing to me about Mix Eval is that they get to 96% correlation with the chatbot arena, with the LM6. And the LM6 where like actual humans actually talk with both models and say this one's better and that one's better. But they get it with 2,000 less time within 5 minutes and 5,000x less costs with 60 cents, which is like just astounding, because we all know the evaluations are hard, but also the thing we don't often talk about, they're expensive. Folks, Justin, you guys provide the API credits for LM6 to actually run those evaluations on your testing. But if somebody wants to evaluate, or if you want to evaluate somebody else's, you either trust a third party or you actually go and spend the tokens yourself. And this reduction in cost is just incredible. Not only that, this Mix Eval, they offer dynamic benchmarking as well. So to prevent the problem of overfitting or the data, the eval leaks into the data, they offer something dynamic benchmarking where they constantly and stably update their kind of the questions in the dynamic benchmarks. And they, in addition to be able to get to the correlation, they also have their own like Mix Eval and Mix Eval Hard. And yeah, it's very, very impressive. So on that benchmark right now, GPT-4o gets the top score with 64.7% on Mix Eval and 64.7%. And what else should we say about Mix Eval? Junyang, I would love to hear from you because you guys reached out to them, so probably you knew about this effort. What's very interesting and exciting about this like Mix Eval effort besides just the pricing?
Yeah, I think they have figured out some ways to approximate what people in Chatbot Arena would prefer. You'll find the scores are aligning with the Chatbot Arena performance. If you check the performance on the dataset, you'll find that you can guess how your model performs in the Chatbot Arena and how people will like it. It is really interesting. It is not that difficult to build such data sets, but it is hard to have such an idea to mine the prompts and to build a distribution that really approximate what people like. I think it is a really great work because I am familiar with some of the authors. They really know how to mine the great prompts. Xiangyue, he's also the author of Mammoth 2. It is also a very, very great work for people to use how to increase the instruction tuning dataset size because Meta has a large number of prompts and a large dataset for instruction tuning, but for a lot of people in the open source community, we cannot do it. We do not have enough data, but it has some great ways to mine the data. I think how to mine the data will be a new topic for the research and the open source community. Mix Eval is very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you for additional context. And if you want to shout out your friends over there and just intro me so they'll come to ThursdAI and talk about this, they're more than welcome. Yeah, I wanted to hear from you if you had a chance to look at this mix eval thing and any comments on your end if we're going to use them.
Yeah,
the speed is incredible, right? Like we can just run this as part of the process now and then see what people could perform.
I think it's important because people don't appreciate how much, just how long and how many evals you do actually need to run, how many questions you need to ask the model to run a benchmark, a modern benchmark today. So smaller benchmarks that are approximately the larger ones are absolutely necessary. So we can move much faster than we are moving today, because today you just want to run whatever eval and it just takes hours. Minimum. If you want to run MMLU, it's a huge thing. It's thousands and thousands of questions at the end. So yeah, I think it's a great direction in general to have smaller evals that are approximating the larger ones. So yeah.
Yep. This is great, and especially like at the speed as well. So I think that we've covered this mix eval. So not only a benchmark that you can run that approximates the kind of what users will use, but significantly cheaper as well. I definitely expect folks to be able to now like showcase this model, and it's great that the Qwen team already did show these evals. The next thing I wanted to talk about, I want to introduce a new friend of the pod here that I don't think you've never been here before, but feel free to unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Feel free to introduce yourself, and then
yeah.
let's talk about the stuff that you announced.
Yeah, my name is Batuhan. I work at FAL. We are an ML inference provider for open source multimodal AI. We specialize on image models, running them as fast as possible. And yeah, I wanted to talk about the grants program that we announced this week. It is our initiative to essentially try to contribute to the open source ecosystem as much as we can, because it is what is powering this whole AI revolution in our minds. And there's amazing work done by amazing companies. One of them just got announced, Qwen2. That's an amazing project. And we just want to make sure that we are doing our part by providing compute to researchers, providing data and whatever is necessary. We already sponsor like multiple model developments that are, to my mind, are great examples of what can be done even with a limited amount of compute. Limited in this case is like means 8, 16, 32 H100s, not thousands of H100s. And like one of those examples is BiRefNet, for example. It's like a state-of-the-art background removal model that we're sponsoring development. We're sponsoring the development of Moondream with Vic for high resolution multimodal AI, that sort of stuff. And we were doing this informally, and now we want to do this more publicly to contribute to the ecosystem as much as possible, and never let anyone say, hey, I have this cool idea. I wish I was working in an AI lab that could sponsor me compute. Our dream is we want to enable all these people.
So I will just say this, a few things about FAL specifically. I got introduced to Gorkem, who's the CEO of FAL, if I'm not mistaken, Batuhan, or
he's the CTO and co-founder.
CTO and co-founder. Gorkem, and then the hats that you may have seen that people wear that says GPU poor, GPU rich. I think you guys made a genius marketing move by printing out a bunch of those hats and jumping on the GPU poor, GPU rich kind of like meme, making the meme that much stronger. And then we kind of like, I got introduced to the FAL ecosystem and the serverless stuff that you do in a bunch of stuff. And then I think we connected because I wanted to use the super fast SDXL things, and you and other like providers started fighting who's going to be like the fastest inference, which I really, really appreciated. And I really appreciate the work that you do on open source. So we've talked about FAL multiple times before. I'm not in any way sponsored by FAL. I just like really love the product, really love the team. And so shout out for this like incredible initiative, because on ThursdAI, multiple times we have researchers, we have fine tuners, we have a bunch of people who use these LLMs, who want to build. Vic was here from Moondream, and like other folks as well, like Eric Hartford, John Durbin, like a bunch of folks who are like, I wanted to take this to the next level. I wanted to fine tune that bigger model, etc. We don't have compute. So grants like this is, I think, an incredible way forward for open source, and we want to highlight them as much as possible. And oftentimes, ThursdAI stage is where those connections happen. So folks, meet Batuhan and meet Fal. They now have grants for open source. Batuhan, meet the rest of the folks here who do fine tuning and do like open source research as well. They often come to ThursdAI to talk about this. Really wanted to shout out this as well. What else should we say about Fal? The thing that we mentioned before, and I really wanted to have you here to talk about this, we haven't talked about this when you released, is ImageSys. ImageSys is like LMSys for Arena for chatbots. You guys built an Arena for diffusion models, and that's been out for a month or something. How's that going?
Yeah, it is going great. So one of the things about image models is they are very diverse, from especially on the fine-tuning front. We don't have as much base models as LLMs, right? We have like probably Stable Diffusion 1.5, SDXL, PixArt. Like there are like a couple of diffusion transforms that just came up, but like the people who fine-tune these models bring it to the next level, because like they create the data, and data is like the most important thing. So we just wanted to create a platform for all of these amazing models to see do a one-shot evaluation, which is, I want to be very clear, it's like a very hard thing to judge these models in one-shot way. Yeah. I completely get like all the criticism, because like the main idea is there's no amazing metric. We just want to provide another data point. From an aesthetics, from a prompt adherence perspective, all of those combined into one shot. We created this arena, and we're sponsoring the compute ourselves. We run like 30 different models in that arena, and hopefully we'll be adding more and more. We're already planning to add Stable Diffusion 3 as soon as the weights drop, to see how it compares to the existing fine-tuned models, because we see that SDXL is in the 15th place versus there are SDXL fine-tuners that are in the first place. We want to see how it compares to the existing variants of SDXL, how much the community is going to take it over, that sort of stuff. And it's been a project that has been running for a month or so. We already collected more than 100,000 samples. We are now, I think the most proud thing for me is some researchers are reaching out to me and telling, hey, can we put our models here to make sure that our paper is actually doing something effective, which is like amazing, because otherwise there's no, like, you can only do like your own preference studies if you are just like a company, right? If you can get to the Mechanical Turk or whatever and put people to that. But like we now create an open platform for all researchers to essentially collect user preference data, which is completely open source. Like all these data is open source for DPO purposes.
Oh, really?
If you want to train your own image model, yes.
Wow,
all the
that's
preference
incredible.
data is open. Yeah, and because we collect the data from people, I want to be very honest with people. That data is going to be open source. It is already open source, and anyone can use it to DPO, fine-tune their own models. And that is essentially how we're trying to help those researchers build better models or better DPO techniques.
Amazing. So while we have you here, and we usually save the diffusion area of our show last, but while we have you here and you're the expert in this, you work on this as well, we have two announcements here, and I would love for you to stick around and just talk to me about them as well. We have Stable Diffusion 3, as you mentioned. We've been all waiting for weights for a long time. They this week announced that the weights for Stable Diffusion 3 are coming on June 12th. And not all of the weights. So they invented a few different categories, I think. It's going to be a series of models. There's going to be Stable Diffusion 3 medium, which is a 3 billion or so parameter model. There's going to be also
medium,
a large...
4 billion.
4 billion, apologies. Yeah, thank you. 4 billion parameter. And there's also going to be a large and extra large Stable Diffusion 3 as well, correct?
So there is from the start, there was 4 models. One is 800 million, 0.8 billion parameter model, which is for on-device inference. The 2 billion model, which is going to be released, which is what they're calling medium. There's a 4 billion model they're calling large, and 8 billion model they're calling X large, which they're not releasing those. They're only releasing the 2 billion model. As far as I know, I think that's the model that they trained the highest, because like training for the different models is very resource intensive. It's not like a distillation, it's like separately trained. So they are essentially like releasing the one that they feel confident in. And like they haven't said, I don't think they haven't said anything official about the 8 billion one, but I am honestly expecting that as well, to see in the upcoming weeks or months at the worst case scenario. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, because this model seems like a step function over SDXL, but also like it is still limited, because SDXL is like a 2.6 billion parameter model, and SD3 is going to be a 2 billion parameter model. Yes, it's like apples to oranges. One is a diffusion transformer, one is like a conventional unit-based model. But at the same time, it's been like, even though their own paper shows that if you have a if you put an equal amount of compute to train an 8 billion model and a 2 billion model, 8 billion model is going to perform better for the same budget.
Yep.
So I'm like super curious about the 8 billion one, but also this is what we are getting. And I think like it's going to be still a really good step function over SDXL. And yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it looks, specifically because Stable Diffusion 2, when it released, people did not love it. And there was like a whole thing. So I'm really excited to see, specifically around then they released SDXL as well. In additional news in the diffusion world, we have a new release today, actually breaking news as well. So I will definitely not skip using my breaking news button. Let's do it. AI breaking news. Coming at you only on ThursdAI. We have so much breaking news that I'm very, very happy. But please stick with us because Jasper AI releases Flash Diffusion. Flash Diffusion is a new method for limited step kind of diffusion, reduces the number of training parameters by 2.5x compared to like other competitors, and training is orders of magnitude faster, which is incredible, and also speeds up inference, 5x reduction in GPU inference costs, which is incredible. It's very one of those like low step diffusion models that looks great. This is from the team at ClipDrop, which was a standalone team, and then they got acquired by Stability, and then they got acquired by Jasper. So those are researchers that are like moving around. Now they released, I think, the first open source release since they joined Jasper from the team at ClipDrop, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know if you already had the chance to try it, but definitely I added the link in the show notes and on top here as well. It's really fast. It's one of those like very like few step parameter like SDXL Turbo, and we've seen others from ByteDance, I believe. But Ohan, what's your take on Flash Diffusion? If you had the chance,
I think I have looked at it. I haven't read the paper yet, but in general, I think the quality seems to be comparable to Hyper SD, which is like the latest one from ByteDance. ByteDance first released like SDXL Lightning and then Hyper SD. Now there's like all of these cool names going around, but I think the paper says it is better for the FID score on better than Hyper and Lightning, which is great. And to me, the more exciting part is the training infrastructure seems to be open source, which is great because we can now take this and apply it to SC3 as soon as it comes up. That is our plan. So as soon as SC3 comes up, we want to see if we can train this for SC3. If Jasper wouldn't beat us to it, which we would be happy to.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because the problem with the ByteDance distillation methods was that their code wasn't open source. So there was like still open source alternatives like TCD, LCM, all of those. But the state-of-the-art Hyper SD and Lightning weren't open source on their training. And this seems to be fully open source. Like I had a chance to briefly look into the training infrastructure. It seems all open source, which is great. It seems to work with diffusion transformer models like PixArt. That is amazing, which means it is like 99% gonna work with SD3 with like small adjustments. And like I have to check if there's like a problem with rectified flow, but I don't think there's going to be. So if it works, that's great because SD3 8 billion has a turbo variant. Stability hasn't said anything about 2 billion turbo. And if there isn't, I think this would be a great opportunity for community to get together and release like a super high quality, low step variant of SD3 as soon as it pops up, because that's like what people need. It reduces the barrier of entry to these models because then you don't need like a super high-end GPU locally, and a lot of artists use it. And for like real-time experiences on like high-end GPUs, it enables it. Like it enables new use cases, having these models perform like so much faster.
So should we expect this model up on FAL like very quick as well, as usual?
Yeah. I will test it and see if it is comparing with Hyper. If it is better than Hyper SDXL, I think we'll put it.
Amazing. One thing I wanted to highlight there, they also offer. So first of all, shout out to the team. Damien Henry and the team behind ClipDrop have been working on ClipDrop for a while. They have like other image editing tools like background removal, relighting, and background replacement. This model supports other things besides just text to image. It supports in-painting and it supports image upscaling as well, which is also great. So shout out to the team at ClipDrop for this like amazing release. Breaking news on Thursday, always welcome. And then folks, if you want to test it out, I think there's already a demo up on Hugging Face. And I will, I think in the link above tweet, you have the demo, and then look out for folks at File testing this out, and hopefully we'll see if this applies to Stable Diffusion 3, and then we'll get like Stable Diffusion 3, but distilled with 4 or 6 steps, and it's going to be almost immediate. It's super, super cool. I think that's it in the diffusion world, folks. Anything else I missed in the diffusion world before we move on? I think it's pretty much it. We also have still some breaking news coming up. We have breaking news coming from our friends at Gradio very, very soon. So we're going to hear about that in the next, I want to say, maybe 10 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about audio. Audio category has been blowing up this. Wow, we have so much to talk about. But we have so many guests. It's incredible. Let's talk about audio. All right, so what we're listening to right now is a prompt called Progressive House Music, and this comes from the new Stable Audio Open. So we've talked about Stable Audio before. You'd be able to use this on their website, basically. And now we have an open version of this that you can like basically run for yourself and generate as much music as you want to. And this is Progressive House Music and looks and sounds very, very, very clean. It's really good at electronic music and transitions. The team DadaBots at Stable Diffusion worked behind this. It's a text audio diffusion. I believe it's also a diffusion transformer. Yeah, a T5 diffusion transformer. Here's another sample. Let me see another sample that's cool from our friend Cocktail Peanut. Yeah, let's listen to Acid House. As previous experiences with sharing audio here on stage did not succeed, I'm hoping that this comes through like a high quality as much as I hear this, but it really sounds clean. It really does sound clean. It doesn't sound like 1920s radio. And they also have like very uncanny valley experiences. Unlike Suno and Udio, they don't generate singing, probably because it wasn't in their dataset distribution. So this sounds just weird. Let's listen to the weird thing. This is indie folk song. Wow. It's very interesting because this is a diffusion transformer. Unlike Suno, this probably didn't train for as much as those. And now you can hear that somebody is like singing. And it really, because it's also a diffusion thing, it really reminds me of the earlier diffusion stuff where like you could see like barely any hands, and then with more training you'd see like more resolution. And it definitely reminds me of that. How long does it take to generate a 47 seconds clip? It takes 66 seconds on the RTX 4090, so like fairly quick. On M1 it takes 1 minute and 50 seconds, so you can actually use this right now. I'm not sure about the license entirely, but Stable Audio Tools is available. I think that's pretty cool. Anything, comments here? Nistan, Yam, comments on LDJ joined us as well, or Wolfram even. Would you guys generate this music? I think it's open source completely, so you can actually use this music in your own stuff because it's like fully trained on very open audio, unlike others. I guess no comments. All right, let's move forward. Both Suno and Udio in the category of voice and audio up their game this week. First, Suno actually reached out to me, so shout out to Suno for reaching out and saying, hey, here you go, Alex, try something. I love when companies do this. So if you're in this area, you want to send me something to try out before ThursdAI, please do. Suno did this first. They did a upload your audio feature that then you can upload any audio that you want. You want to play a keyboard, you want to do a synth, whatever, and then you can ask their service to actually generate some stuff for you on top of that audio or to extend it. It's hard for me to describe how cool this is because, again, I'm not a musician, but there's many folks who are like either failed musicians or musicians just for the soul of it, and they never played in a band or anything. And so I have a few friends who are just, for them, this is the Stable Diffusion moment where you can actually interact with an AI music generation and just extend it. And so I will also try to play you an example. I posted it yesterday. I found it super cool. I saw a viral like Instagram clip of somebody just singing and I think in Indian market or something, it's saying come on ladies, or maybe Afghanistan. And here's my and Suno remix of it. So let me see if I can pull this up like super quick. Basically what I did is I found this Instagram like viral video. There's no audio in it. So there's no music in it. There's only audio of this person like singing in a fish market somewhere. So the first 10 seconds of this you'll hear is the 10 seconds of that person singing, and then the rest of it, Suno just basically picks up and does whatever I asked it to. And in this case, I asked it to do a little remix, a little dubstep remix. Let me see if I play this for you guys in. Oh, I think it's somewhere else. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a second, please. It's on my profile here. I'll actually add this to.
Come on, ladies, come on, ladies.
So it's this guy singing
about
£1 pound fish.
£1 pound fish.
And this is Suno. So I want to pause here just for a second because this sounds like a clean cut, right? Like he finished singing and now you have a different like song, completely different. But no, Suno actually took whatever he sings and introduced it into the song. Just listen to it. It's crazy.
Come on, ladies, come on, ladies. £1 pound fish. £1 pound fish.
It took him singing and then got it to sing in a different cadence and it added a reverb and added like a bunch of stuff that I don't understand because I don't speak, music. And to me, it's just mind-blowing. This took me like 5 seconds. This needs professionals who do remixes. For them, this needs to break down the vocals, remove the background audio, whatever. Suno just did this. And just the fact that it made him sing
£1 pound fish.
and do this like... I don't even know what it's called, syncopation, whatever. To me, this was incredible. Excuse me. The fact that now these tools are existing and we now can take anything and create music out of it. You can play a guitar, you can like just drum on your table, do whatever, and then these tools can pick it up and create like a full song for you. I find this just incredible. So I just wanted to highlight this and add this to the show notes as well, for sure. And now I think we have another breaking news. And from our friend Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, please step on. I sent you an invite as well. Nista, meanwhile, you added something to the stage. You want to cover this while Abu Bakr steps up?
Yeah, it looks like OpenAI have released a visualization tool, which I think they've opened some of it now. It's pretty funny to see OpenAI public. They have to add public to it. But we'll be looking more at this because I am not too sure. However, there is a big need for visualization tools as to what's going on inside the LLM.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm getting a comment from Sunglasses Face that says that this video was a viral video from back in the days in London, and people are super familiar with the £1 pound fish guy, and now it has a remix that I added. With that, I want to move on to our next thing, and also breaking news. Again, breaking news. We had multiple of those. I love it. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. I will let, again, as the thing that I love the most to do, to let the authors of the breaking news to actually speak for themselves. So welcome, Abu Bakr. Feel free to unmute and introduce yourself briefly. You've been on ThursdAI multiple times before, but maybe recent folks who just joined don't know who you are. So feel free to introduce briefly and then also talk about the latest release that you guys have.
Hey, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yep. Coming through loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you for having me back. Hey, everyone. I'm Abu Bakr. I'm coming in from Hugging Face. So I lead a team that focuses on open source software around machine learning, particularly around the Gradio library. So if you've used Gradio to build machine learning demos, I lead the team that builds that library, as well as we work on helping host that on Hugging Face Spaces, so a platform to host your machine learning demos for free. And yeah, very, very glad to be here. I just wrapped up another live stream. We did a launch live stream this morning, and now I'm here to share some of that with you.
So just
Basically,
before you share, I just want to chime in here super quick. We've met when I got introduced to like Stable Diffusion 1.4, and I built like a Gradio app that on top of whatever one of those, it's called Automatic 1111. I worked on something like similar back before Automatic Quad 1 didn't exist, and Abu Bakr was like very gracious, and like we met over Zoom, and I shared some feedback. You've used, if you're in the space, if you used even one Hugging Face space, you probably use Gradio, and Hugging Face acquired you guys, but you're the founder of this like thing as well. Just want to make sure we're not like just jumping over this as well, which is a great tool that many people use and makes it super simple to be interfaces without thinking twice about front end. Incredible library. So please go ahead about this new announcement.
Thanks so much, Alex. Yeah, and I remember those kind of early days when folks were starting to build things like Automatic 1111. That was, I think, when we realized Gradio, and that was pushing the limits. I feel like we were looking at this and we're like, wait, what? People are building all of this with Gradio. And one of the things that we've seen is that Gradio is widely used now for building machine learning prototypes and doing demos and things like that. But sometimes people switch away from Gradio when they go from prototype to production. And that's not ideal, right? Ideally, you have the same stack that works really well for you to prototype. You can just take that. It would be really great if you can just take that and then turn it into a production API that you or the software engineers on your team who maybe don't care about the machine learning part at all, that they can use. So as of today, that's actually possible. So we've been working really hard to make sure that every Gradio app is a performant and fully documented kind of production API endpoint. Pretty much anything that you build with Gradio, now you can use it as an API. And there's lots of cool features that come out of the box. Like why would you want to do this in the first place? If you do build a Gradio application, you get fully documented API endpoints for everything. But maybe you don't want documentation. In fact, you get something better than documentation, which is you get an API recorder. So any kind of UI interactions that you do with the Gradio application, it automatically reconstructs that as code for you. So then anybody who wants to reconstruct that, do that in Python or JavaScript can have that code. And then we also just released today a whole monitoring system within Gradio application that lets you view how many requests are coming in, usage, things that are failing, all of that stuff. So we did that on one hand. And then on the other hand, we also released the first major release of the Python and JavaScript client that are designed to consume data from Gradio applications.
So a client that I just import, like I would import the OpenAI client and just be able, without RESTful calls, etc. I would be just to be able to do inference or call LLM and do a generation, stuff like this.
So you just import it. You'd import Gradio client. This exists for Python and for JavaScript. A very similar kind of API for both of them. You connect to a Gradio space, a Gradio demo that could either be running on Hugging Face spaces, or it could just be on your own server anywhere. You connect to it, and then you just pass in your data. It makes a prediction. You get the output back. Let's say you've built something like a Stable Diffusion, Automatic 101 type thing, or let's say you built a demo to generate images. Okay, cool. I have the demo now. Now I can just pass that code to a software engineer on my team. They can build a whole product around that demo. They can consume it as an API. And in order to get that to work, we've had to do a lot of things to improve the performance of Gradio so that we're not adding overhead to any sort of requests. We've also done a lot to try to make sure that the clients themselves are very ergonomic. You can do anything with the clients that you can do with Gradio. So the Gradio itself is built on these clients. So things like, okay, if I make a request and I want to know the ETA, so you can see that in the Gradio UI, but you can also get that with the client. And then the third thing with the clients is try to make this as portable as possible. So anywhere where you can run Python or JavaScript, you can run the client as well.
That's amazing. Abu Bakr, thanks for coming up. And the question is, and go ahead, and then we have one more thing to talk about before we wrap up, I think.
This really enables large-scale deployments of this stuff. But at the moment, on the server side, where you're hosting the space, that is still Python-based, correct? And my second question would be, if someone were to scale this to a lot of users, then it would be on the developer to orchestrate how many hosts of the space that is running the model, and which clients are connecting to however many based on the amount of sessions they're allowed for each, right? Like at the moment, this makes it very easy to start, but with one, right?
Yeah, excellent question. So both are very good points. So the first is, so the server-side code, it still is in Python. And I think that's actually important because there's so much of the machine learning ecosystem that's in Python, right? So if I'm using, for example, Llama CPP, and then maybe I want to use outlines to structure that generation, all of that code is in Python. And if you move away from that, there's nice JavaScript APIs and stuff, but you lose a lot of that. And our goal is let people build the server side in Python and then consume it very easily wherever they are building. If they're building something in Node or whatever, you can use the JavaScript client appropriately. And then in terms of deploying it, you're right. Scalability is super important. Spaces is actually a very scalable platform. With Spaces, you can do things like add multiple replicas or add multiple views. You can do that in Spaces, and you can even have it sleep, right? So it can scale down to 0, right? So after a certain amount of inactivity, it can go back down to 0, which makes sure that you're not paying for extra GPU costs. And then there's also Zero GPU, which Hugging Face launched. I think it's been talked about before, but you don't have to pay for GPU at all by sharing GPU among different people, different members in the community. And the clients work really well with Zero GPU. And then you mentioned making sure that resources are connected appropriately. One of the reasons actually why I think Radio is a really good fit for building stuff in production is because you can control things like how many users should be able to access resources concurrently, or how many concurrent workers should be running at any given time. Let's say I have 4 GPUs available. I want to make sure that I have at most 4 workers. Gradio lets you do that within Python. So there's just a couple of very intuitive Python parameters you set, and then you can just do that within Python. So you don't have to worry about managing that on a system level or anything like that.
Thank you. That's actually very, very useful stuff to know. Because normally this is pretty hard to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons like why we know that machine learning APIs are hard and time consuming to set up, which limits people from being able to, I want to prototype, but then I want to deploy. But if you ever put any sort of machine learning app in production, you know that you're not done, right? You have to there's this dance, you have to go back to kind of being, maybe a new model comes out, maybe the data distribution changes. So being able to prototype and then deploy very easily, very quickly, all in Python, I think is a real cool new skill that I think is very valuable. So hopefully the community feels the same way.
That's awesome, and we'll wait to see how the community gonna adopt this. Abu Bakr, thanks for coming up and talking to us about this. I know for a fact that for me, Gradio was one of the easiest ways to build around the stuff that I want to play around with, and I'm sure for others as well. The integration with Spaces is super dope. Zero GPU Spaces is also supported to this, or not really, because they're like queued up.
So there is a queue. So Zero GPU is shared, so you might have to wait a little bit longer for your prediction to come through, but like the client will handle that, right? So it'll wait until the space is ready and then it'll respond. So I would say Zero GPU is really good for asynchronous tasks. So let's say you're doing something, summarizing, sending an email later on back to the user or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Zero GPU is great for that. For synchronous or high kind of latency things, then you'll want to have a dedicated instance.
Yeah, which is easy enough to do on Hugging Face as well. All right, Abu Bakr, thanks for coming up. We have a few more things to cover super quick, and then I'm going to do a recap and send you off on your day. We have one more breaking news today, actually, but I think I've exhausted the button. But one more breaking news is actually pinned to the top of the space. We just got a demo, a few videos and a few demo videos of something called Qwen. Sorry, a company called Qwen released a model called Qwen, which is their SOTA comparative model. It generates 120 seconds of video, and it looks SOTA, like very closely to SOTA. Just go in the top and look at the videos. There's a video of somebody eating spaghetti, and like his mouth opens up, and like the chopsticks are holding the noodles at the right space, and they're not moving around. It's quite remarkable. And unlike Sora, they claim at least that this is now in open access via their iOS app. I think you have to have a Chinese phone number to be able to actually register. This is a Chinese company, Qwen, but the videos there just look like the same feeling we had from Sora, maybe a little bit less high fidelity, but very, very high fidelity anyway, and looks just like incredible and super cool. So maybe they'll beat the folks from OpenAI with access to Sora, which, by the way, recently I just saw that apparently people are better testing Sora outside of like the few people the OpenAI can reach out to. I saw a video from Ashton Kutcher that says, hey, I have access to Sora and I played around with this, and some some folks have access to Sora, so shout out to just a request to OpenAI. If you want to like other folks play with Sora, please send me access as well. I would love to test this out and talk about my impressions as well. Let's see what else. Yeah, I want to highlight a member of the community. Maziar, you want to come up like super quick and then talk about this thing that you just posted? As I mentioned before previously on ThursdAI, one of the things that I love here is that the best fine-tuners from the world of fine-tuning are joining us. Maziar, you're more than welcome to hop up and talk about some of your achievements. And meanwhile, while you join, I wanted to cover some big companies, APIs, and LLMs, which we barely talked about. And actually, Nistan, with you, let's be super quick about this because I want to keep this under 2 hours. But last time we announced the recall thing a couple of weeks ago from Microsoft Build. It's a feature on the newer AI-enabled PCs, Copilot Plus PCs from Microsoft, where similar to Rewind, they would take screenshots and basically embed them on device using on-device AI, and then you'd be able to have perfect recall for everything that you did on device. Back then we talked, and many people were not very happy about this from the security perspective. Now we have a new tool called Total Recall on GitHub that somebody released. They actually announced that the way Microsoft did this is very whatever. It's a SQLite database unencrypted locally on the user's PC. All the screenshots are simply files saved into a folder. And it's very easy to just access. So they built a tool about this. So basically, the folks here were right. Is there any reaction to this like thing called Total Recall? That's the tool.
I didn't expect them to mess it up this badly, this fast. But yeah, it turned out that it was not optional. You don't have the option to turn it off at first, and then you have to know what they have renamed it to. So they've hidden it afterwards. You can search for recall on your services because it's not named recall anymore. It's named some Windows, some generic name like screenshot AI. And then the thing that they said is secured and it is encrypted. No, it's secure and encrypted for guest users, which nobody uses on Windows. So it was unencrypted.
Everybody's an admin on their own device. This is not like only for work. Like people are not admins, but most people locally are admins of their own device.
Yeah, and the other thing, the tool itself was actually surprisingly efficient. It only makes a little 80 kilobyte SQL database, but that also makes it incredibly easy to steal from any tool because it's literally like 80 kilobytes that.
Wait, I want to highlight this because I don't think the impressiveness of this came through. The database, the compression they did was very impressive, right? That's what you're talking about. Several days of screenshots of working is like 90 kilobytes. Several days of screenshots is 90. I have no idea what compression they did there, but it sounds incredible. 90 kilobytes is nothing. You take one screenshot with a PNG, it's like 3 megabytes. How the hell did they do this? I have no idea.
Yeah, they're only saving it as text. So after after the embeddings come out and the model takes care of them, which I don't know what it is. It's probably some kind of PHY local model. Mm-hmm. So you're only saving that text every 5 seconds that it's been set to. The other interesting thing is that you don't need a PC with an NPU. Like even any PC with a GPU can run it. That part was fine. It's actually impressive. It is just the entire mishandling of trust that is the big issue, because it really turns people off from wanting anything to do with the AI at all, and that's really unfortunate because of the way it was handled. Yeah,
not great, and many people kind of like talked about how maybe it's creepy that somebody just like now takes screenshots, and Microsoft said it's encrypted, but it's not actually encrypted. After you log into your Mac, to your Windows, it's decrypted. Like the file is right there, anybody can access it. So everybody, besides now being able to collect keystrokes, they now are able to like actually see what you saw, which is not great. And the fact that it's hard to turn off and it's turned on by default is not amazing. Womp womp. The last thing, Nistan, you said, I also want to highlight, it doesn't require this NPU thing. It doesn't. Like people built like a ARM faker or something that you can actually run it, like it fakes it for the Windows as though you have the NPU thing that they've announced. So it's like a totally software feature that now people can abuse, and it just like exposes people who use this even more. Unfortunate, and we'll see how many people will still have it enabled because it's default. I think we're pretty much at the end of the show. Before this, I want to say, highlight Maziar, that I really want to highlight some members of the community. We've talked about some of your stuff. We didn't get to talk to your kind of participation in the hackathon last time, but I wanted to highlight this tweet that you had. Feel free to unmute and just talk through your achievements as through this thing.
Hi, Alex.
I was really impressed about this. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Thanks for having me on the show. What a day. Thanks for covering everything. All the news and breaking news and everything happened during the show.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of shit today. Yeah.
Fantastic job. Yeah, fantastic job. So I saw the news, the Qwen team was about to release the Qwen2. And I just knew that I had to recap Llama-3 and move on, really. So I think I fine-tuned and quantized like over 56 models of Llama-3. And it got almost 1 million downloads in such a short time.
Ooh.
So it shows like the community, like the local LLM is really active and is present. Really, it doesn't say much about me, but it just says more about the community itself. And I think to this day, the fine-tunes of Llama-3 70B are almost rank 1 among all the other Llama-3 70B. Which is quite interesting. I'm a bit worried about the Qwen2 72B, so I'm already started fine-tuning it, just in case if I lost my space in the leaderboard. but yeah, a great job on the models. I think they did a fantastic job, especially on the context length and the multilingual support. And I think it's just really people fine-tuning different models, quantizing it, adding and contributing to open source. It's really because of the community giving back, really. It's the love that comes back. That's why they spend so much time and going through all the use cases. I think it's really for the people out there on a desktop, on every single laptop they have, just using quantized 4-bit, even 2 bits, and they're happy about it. They get things done. So it's really for them, and I'm really glad to be very small part of this big community. It's thanks to all of you. And I just wanted to share and recap because I know it's time to move on to other models. And we had fun with Llama-3, and let's now start having different models and see where we go. Thanks again, Alex, for having me.
Thank you, man. Always welcome to come up. As folks, we try to highlight as much as possible open source, but also the fine-tuners from the fine-tuners community. So we have Yam here, Nistan LDJ, Maziar recently started joining, and I'm very, very happy for this. Maziar, I don't know if you saw, but if you were there doing this part, but the team at FAL are having a grant now for open source stuff, and I don't know if they do fine-tuning as well, but feel free to reach out to Batahan if you need additional support to fine-tune some of those Qwen stuff. And as you heard it first here, Qwen2 is now starting to appear like the North Star after Llama, and it's barely been 2 months since Llama? Barely 2 months. I think it's a month and a half. Quite incredible. So Mazi, shout out for your efforts there. Still the top Llama-3 fine-tunes on the Hugging Face leaderboard. Congrats. And I think on this very happy note, there's one thing I didn't mention, but there's been enough news. But OpenGLM also released like a GLM 4 and LLMs and VLMs, but I don't have enough notes about this to make it interesting. So just know that if you know what OpenGLM is, they have new VLMs as well. And I think that's pretty much it, folks. Next week is going to be also insane because WWDC is next Monday, June 10th, and then we're definitely going to cover everything they announced. I know I see Robert Scoble in the audience. Robert has been talking about the new series that they're going to announce. There's rumors circulating that there's going to be a deal announced with OpenAI. So important that even like Microsoft got involved and started like sharing concerns. So we're going to wait out and see what Apple's finally going to bring us in terms of AI, because it's been a while and Siri sucks. And hopefully Siri is going to stop sucking next week. That's my expectations, at least. I think that this is everything we've talked about. Let me do a super quick recap because we're exactly at 2 hours, and then I'll let you go. It's been an insane day with a bunch of open source and breaking news, and we barely covered anything else. We're just like very highly focused on open source, which is amazing. With that, I think I'll end the space here. I just wanted to shout out everybody else from the folks who joined on stage. We had so many guests who did the news from the folks at Jina, the folks at Nomic, Zach from Nomic. We had obviously Junyang from Qwen, and we've had like just multiple folks, Abu Bakr from Gradio, and just incredible to see all these folks who actually make the news come up on the stage and announce them themselves. And I'm really excited to be able to give them the stage, but also like very happy to have I'm joined on the stage by frequent co-hosts Jan Peleg, Nisten, Tahirai, Wolfram Ravenwolf. Now Mazi is joining us from time to time as well. LDJ was here for a brief time as well, and all of you in the audience who tune in from week to week to listen to this insanity that is trying to follow after AI stuff from week to week. So hopefully we're doing a good job for you, and if we are, please share it with friends and share it on X. And with that, I want to say thank you to everybody and see you next week.